Good afternoon. Good evening, students. Are you hearing? Are you hearing my voice? Sunanaga? Okay, is it clear? Yeah, first of all, welcome to your fourth semester. Uh, and from today onwards, your fourth semester will start. And today, I'm going to give you some introduction, general introduction on your syllabus. Then I'll tell you the things in the sense, the papers. You have the five papers. Regarding five papers, which teacher is dealing these papers? Okay, we have three teachers. Three teachers will share your five papers. Okay, so are you getting my screen? Karnagaya? Students, are you getting my screen? Yeah. Are you watching semester 4 papers? Paper title, scheme, yeah, credits. Okay, right. So you have the five papers as usual, what you have in the earlier semesters. The same number you find here, the five papers, and one seminar you have. Okay. So the first paper is National Movement in India, 1858 to 1947. You have the paper all have the five credits. Five credits in the sense five periods a week and five modules. And second paper 402, History of Contemporary India 1947 to 2000, five credits and 5 hours a week and five modules. And 403, Tribal and Peasant Movements in India, 19th and 20th centuries, which is having also having five credits, 5 hours a week, and five modules. These first three are electives, no choice in it, and 404, Constitutional History of India 1773 to 1947. This paper having four credits and 4 weeks a week and four modules. And 405, Women Studies in India, in Modern India. The same paper also having four credits, 4 hours a week, and four modules. Okay. So fourth and fifth are a choice based, but we are not following the choice here. We are following the these papers as a compulsory: Constitutional History of India and Women Studies in Modern India. Okay. So these papers, these five papers you have, and these five papers dealing with the three teachers. The first one, National Movement in India, 1858 to 1947. The paper which uh, deal by Dr. Harshankar. History of Contemporary India, 1947 to 2000 by Dr. Julian Nageshwar. And Tribal and Peasant Movements in India, 19th and 20th centuries. It's my paper. Constitutional History of India, 1773 to 1947, also my paper. Women Studies in Modern India, also my paper. Okay. So last three papers, uh, which is you have, which is by these are three papers by me. Okay, first two, National Movement in India by Harshankar and History of Contemporary India by Julu Nageshwar. Okay, so these are the 5 papers you have, and apart from these 5 papers, you have one seminar, as usual, like what the seminars you presented in the last semesters. Likewise, in the fourth semester also, you have a seminar for the 25 marks, and the seminar having the two parts. One is the written up, and next one is the presentation. Written up, it is 15 marks, and explanation or presentation for the 10 marks. Totally the 25 marks. Okay, so this is the scheme of your syllabus, and I will give you the detailed syllabus of last 3 papers, because it's me. These are the papers are dealing by me. Okay, so I will give you these papers, the detailed syllabus of those papers. Student, just wait. I will share another one. Yeah, right. Student getting my screen now? Chinanaga? మీకు కనిపిస్తుందా ట్రైబల్ అండ్ పిజన్ మూమెంట్స్ ఇన్ ఇండియా 19th and 20th centuries సిలబస్ కనిపిస్తుంది కదా? ఓకే, రైట్. యా, ఓకే, ఓకే, రైట్. So this have the third paper, which is having 4 modules. Okay, so tribal and peasant movements in India, 19th and 20th centuries, and which is having the 5 modules. Okay, so but it is the fourth paper, it having the 4 modules itself, but it is you have 5 modules, like, okay, the first module is tribal and pigeon movements. Okay, some introduction. You already have certain movements in our last classes, last year, semester, like the Dalit movements. In the same way, we are here discussing about, going to discuss about these tribal and pigeon movements here. And in the first module, we have the general introduction about these tribal and pigeon movements. And we also see the nature and scope of these tribal and pigeon movements also. And we are also going to see about its causes and significance, and colonial economical policies, how the colonial and economical policies, um, which related, or which are the reason to these reasons to these tribal and the rise of tribal and pigeon movements. And we also see here about the historiography also. Okay, historiography in the sense any historical literature which developed on these tribal and pigeon movements, we are going to see these historiography on this of these tribal and pigeon movements here. Okay, so basically, movements is nothing but a certain change, right? So it is sudden change, or any change which is gradually taken place. It's movement in the sense it's nothing but a change which taken place, as in a long run or a short period or sudden change. Okay, so that we generally call as a movement or a struggle. Okay, or a revolution. Okay, so here the movement had certain similar words, right? The movement, revolution, struggle, uprising. Okay, so everything which comes under a movement. Okay, so a systematic struggle is nothing but a movement. Okay, it may be a sudden change. Okay, so there is a normal things are going on, as usual things are going on. Within the as usual thing, any sudden change is taken place, nothing but a movement. Okay, or a struggle, or a uprising. Okay, so here you have number of tribal uprisings in India. You have number of peasant movements in India, peasant struggles in India. Okay, so these may be, and it means these tribal or peasant movements we may divide into certain phases also. Okay, while going a detailed description, we definitely um, categorically we'll go by the syllabus on the basis of certain phase. Okay, so we roughly divide into the tribal or peasant movements which are taken place before 1857 or 1858, and we'll discuss tribal and peasant revolts which taken place after 1858, and we also see the tribal and peasant movements which started along with the Indian national movement. Okay, so likewise we will divide these movements into certain categories or certain phases. Okay, so and we will also discuss these things on these things which how its nature. Okay, so what is the nature of these movements, and what is the scope of this movement? Okay, so what is the scope of tribal and peasant movements? What's the nature of tribal and peasant movements? How the nature is taken, how the nature of these movements has had. Okay, so scope in the sense we definitely have a certain limit. Scope in the sense certain limit. Okay, so limit in the sense of the time, limit of a boundary or a territory. Okay, so you are well known that no movement is taken place, no movement is happened all over the country or all over the world or all over particular nation or a territory. Okay, so a movement or a struggle or a uprising arises in a particular point, okay, in a narrow point, then with extending gradually from one place to the other. Okay, it's a extension. Okay, so the starting of a movement is at a narrow point, at a initial point. From then, it gradually extended to certain parts. Okay, and it may be arise in a particular village, then it extended to a mandal, then extended to a circle, then extend to a district, then extend to a state, then extend to a nation. Likewise, the extension may be changes. Okay, so at the same time, it cannot extend it to the up to mark. Okay, it start from a point, then extend it to a certain boundaries. Okay, that's we call as a scope. In the sense of time also we'll see. Okay, so the every movement can't take place overall a year. Okay, so whole month or a whole year. Okay, some movements may happen number of years also. Okay, it's gradually the time also extended for certain years. Okay, so you are well aware many movements you are already eyewitness. Okay, so it movements also had certain years. Okay, so nearly 10 to 20 years. Okay, so likewise these scope maybe we'll see. Okay, so and nature, how the nature means any the nature of a struggle in a violent form or non-violent form or any other things which adjoining to those moments which comes under a nature. Okay, so then we'll see the cause. Okay, here for the tribal and pigeon movements, you find some similar causes and some distinguished causes also. Okay, so here in the similar causes, in the sense you may say here certain causes which happened in the colonial period. Okay, so here for the tribal and pigeon movements, you had certain similar causes. Okay, but for the tribal movements, you had a specific causes you will see. Okay, so which are different with the pigeon movements. Okay, so and also we see certain significance, any uniqueness you find in these tribal or pigeon movements. Okay, so all these you will we are going to see here. And historiography is nothing but any literature which taken place along with a particular tribal and pigeon movements. Okay, so you are well aware that these tribal and pigeon movements had certain literature. Okay, so that literature may be recorded or not. Okay, so the literature in the form of various folk songs or any in any form, but those may recorded or not. Those may recorded by any historian or not. Okay, so all these we will see in a historiography. Okay, so like while reading a Indian history, you will go with a certain historiography. Okay, you are well aware that many schools of historiography you find. We already discussed in the in earlier semesters regarding this historiography and historical method. There is a separate paper for you. Okay, so in that you are already discussed about these historiography. In the historiography is nothing but a writing. Okay, historical writing in a particular way. Okay, here also for the tribal and pigeon movements, any historiography you find, any historical writing uh, which is recorded by any historian or not. Okay, so all these things we'll see in a module one. When it comes to the module two, which is about tribal uprisings. Okay, so here on the basis of territory. Okay, so India has a vast territory, right? So you have the four corners, right? So in the four corners, you find the number of these tribal uprisings, number of tribal groups you are aware. Okay, so these on the basis of these four corners, on the basis of this territory of India, we divide these tribal uprisings or tribal movements or a tribal rebellion. Okay, so first of all, we'll see any tribal uprisings which happened in the central India, any tribal uprising which are started in North India, and any tribal uprising which are started in the Andhra region. Okay, right. So then we'll move to cones. Okay, So Kons, Savara are the two important tribal groups you find particularly in the western part. Okay, southwestern part basically. Okay, Kons were the important groups you find in the Orissa. Sorry, not east, southeastern. Okay, southeastern part you find. Okay, so Kons you find in Orissa. Okay, so Savara also you find in Orissa and Ganjam districts and north Andhra region. Okay, so which is two important tribal groups you find there, and Santal, Munda are the two important tribal groups you find in the central India. Okay, so and also Oran also you find in central India, and Gond, a important tribal group you find in the central India, basically Madhya Pradesh, and Telangana, and adjoining part you find the Gonds, and Rampa rebellion you also well aware that which is taken place in Andhra region. Okay, and the Bills also in you find a tribal group in central India. Okay, so likewise, all these are the important tribal revolts which taken place in these regions. Okay, central India, northern India, and Andhra region. Okay, after that, we're going to see tribal revolts in northeastern India. Okay, so in the northeastern India, you are well aware that Mismi hills you are well aware, and Kasi, Garo, Naga. These are the hills where these on these hill and foothills of these you find the number of tribal groups like the Mismi and Kasi tribes and the Naga tribe you find. Okay, so here also you find certain revolts, right? So after completion of these tribal uprisings which have taken place in the central, north, and Andhra region, then we'll move to the northeastern tribal events that taken place in the northeastern part. Okay, so in the module 3, we'll see peasant movements in British India in 19th century. It's totally about the colonial Indian part. Okay, so in 19th century in the sense after in or around 1900, right? So here basically Sannyasi revolt you find, Pagalpanti revolt mainly you find in the Bengal, and polygars, indigo in Bihar and other parts, and Papna also in Bengal, and Dakhan riots in Maharashtra. Okay, so all this after completion of the tribal revolts, we'll see in the module 3 as a peasant movements in British India. Okay, so Sannyasi revolt, a important revolt. Okay, so which is having the indigo, cause of indigo, and Pagalpanti, also another important rebellion which started in Bengal, and Polygar movement, Indigo, Pavna, Dakhan riots. Okay, so all these are the peasant movements. We are going to discuss about these movements in the module 3. When it comes to the module 4, peasant movements in 20th century. Okay, so in the peasant movements in 20th century, we'll start with the Champaran. Okay, so Champaran Satyagraha, you are well aware that which is the movement involved by Mahatma Gandhi in 1717 after he entered in India from South Africa. The Champaran was the first movement he joined, and next one is the Kaira. Okay, so Kaira also the movement which started in Gujarat, which also having certain relation with the Mahatma Gandhi. And next one is the Mopla. Mopla is one of the peasant movements, which had a color, which is a color of religion here. Okay, so where the Mopla is a movement, peasant movement is started in the Malabar coast, where basically the Muslim farmers has revolted against the Hindu Jamindars in that region. Okay, so next one is the Awadh Kisan Sabha and Eka movement. Both Awadh Kisan Sabha and Eka movement, both movements has taken place in UP, Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so eastern and western Uttar Pradesh, you find these two movements. Okay, so Awadh Kisan Sabha is a movement which is started with Kisan Sabha. Okay, so and Bardoli also an important movement where you find basically in the Gujarat. Okay, so Sardar Vallabhai Patel who directly involved in this movement, and then All India Kisan Sabha, establishment of All India Kisan Sabha was taken place in 1936. Okay, so after establishment of All India Kisan Sabha, many movements has started, and which all the movements which is comes under a single platform called as All India Kisan Sabha. Okay, so then the Communist Party of India also, which led certain peasant movements. Okay, as a socialist part of Indian National Congress, the Communist Party of India led certain movements. Okay, those like Tebaga movement in Bengal and peasant armed struggle in Telangana armed struggle you are well aware, and Worli, which is taken place in Bombay province, and Punapra Vayal War in Kerala. Okay, so all these are movements had certain socialistic ideology. Okay, based on the socialistic ideology, these movements have started, and as a socialist wing within the Indian National Congress, all this movement has supported. And next one is Module 5, the integration of peasantry into national movement, and Indian how the peasantry which involved in the national movement basically. Okay, so because one side the national movement is going on, and another side there is a peasant movements also going on. Okay, so in the similar platform, these two movements have started, and finally the peasant movements and national movements had certain integration. Okay, so they combinedly comes under a platform and started revolt against these British Raj. Okay. Next one is the Indian National Congress and the peasant movements. How Indian National Congress involved in the peasant movements basically. Okay. So the next emergence of class consciousness organizations, and the role of leftists and the provincial ministries and physical struggles. Okay, so provincial ministries and peasant struggles. Okay, so all these are we are going to see. Okay, so these are about the tribal and peasant movements in India in 19th and 20th centuries. Okay, this is a general description over these peasant movements, and for this you have certain suggested readings here. Okay, so below these syllabus you have suggested readings. One is the Ranjit Guha, elementary aspects of peasant insurgency in colonial India, which is a important text. You will get these things. Okay, so Ranjit Guha, a subaltern historian, who had this who discussed basically the lower class involvement in these peasants. Okay, so basically how the lower class had their role in these peasant movements, and you will particularly find during the time of colonial India. Okay, so you are well aware that Ranjit Guha's writings you are somewhat aware, and read this one also. Okay, next one is A.R. Desai, peasant struggles in India, and D.N. Danagare, peasant movements in India. These two books you will get maximum of your uh, uh, syllabus, which is comes under are covered covering in these two texts. Okay, so here A.R. Desai is specialist in on the pigeon struggle, and Dhanagare also is specialist in pigeon movements, pigeon struggles. But the problem is here is that there is certain question of availability of the text. Okay, so no reprint of these books you available, and if you get these books, you can read. Okay, so next one V Raghavaya's text, Tribal Revolts in India, also one of the important text. You will get lots of information regarding the tribal revolts. Okay, next one is Barry Pavier, Telangana movement. It's a text about Telangana urban struggle. You get lots of information from the Telangana movement from the Barry Pavier's work. And next one is K.S. Singh. K.S. Singh is a pioneer in tribal writings. Okay, so you will also get lots of things from tribal movements from the texts of K.S. Singh. Not only this text, you will definitely get many things regarding the tribes from the K.S. Singh work. Okay, so next there are other things are there. One is Hemandra, the text Tribal Hyderabad, and many Hemandra books, which is also about these tribal, basically, Hemandrav's works, basically, you find from the Telangana region. Okay, so his texts on the Chenchus, his texts on Rajgons, his texts on Kondareddis. Okay, so likewise, many text you find his Amandrov's contribution towards the tribes, basically the Telangana and basically in the Nalamala and Godavari belt. Okay, so these are suggested readings regarding these tribal and pigeon movements in India in 19th and 20th centuries. And tomorrow we're going to see a general description on another paper, which is about constitutional history of India. And next, another after the constitutional history of India, we're going to see about women studies in modern India. Okay, so students, this is end of my class today. And you have any doubts regarding the syllabus and any detailed description over the particular paper 3 tribal and pigeon movements in India 19th and 20th centuries, you are now welcome to ask. Are you hearing? Okay, right. Are you there, Chinanagaya? Yeah, okay. This is about my class today. Chinanagaya, you have any doubt or any query, you can ask me now. Yeah, okay, right, ma'am. Okay, I am ending my class now. Thank you. Thank you very much.